All right, guys, we're a little more than an hour away from kickoff, and today is going to be really interesting. We have the Atlanta Falcons coming into town. They've had a very good start to their season. They're 4-1. They've been playing incredible offensively so far, and we're going to learn a lot today. So, first off, one thing that might be a big influence on this game is the weather. There was supposed to be a big storm passing through Washington State this weekend. We did get a storm, but it wasn't quite as big as some people were thinking. There was a lot of rain, there was some wind, there were a few things going on, but for the most part, it wasn't as bad as people thought. But for game time today, it should be wet, it should be rainy, and that's going to be really interesting because we've got a dome team coming into Seattle, the Atlanta Falcons. That's a pass-first team. They like to, get the ball up and down the field. They play in their dome, not used to playing in bad weather, so that has to have a big impact on the way this game plays out. Other side of that is Russell Wilson's never really had a good game in bad weather. He's won some games, he's made some good plays in bad weather games, but he's never really played great. But he hasn't played in a bad weather game in quite some time, so we're going to learn a little bit about him today, too. That's about it for the weather. I feel like that's probably an advantage for us, but we can't count on that to just carry us to victory by any means. As for the game, I was hoping the bye week would be the opportunity we needed to get healthy. That looks like that didn't totally happen. Jerron Reed is ready to go. Nick Vannett is ready to go. Tyler Lockett is healthier. So that's all good. But over the bye week, we did lose Frank Clark. I don't think he's going to play today, but it's possible. He didn't practice at all this week. Cam Chancellor got hurt Friday at practice. He might not play. It's 50-50 at this point from my perspective. CJ Procise could go either way. I don't expect him to play, but it's possible. If he doesn't play, it's not that big a deal. We've got CJ Spiller on the team for the time being. So the team is not where they necessarily want to be. And of course, Thomas Rawls is still out. Quentin Jefferson is out. So it's not terrible, but it's not quite where I wanted things to be after the bye week, especially the Frank Clark injury. That could be huge. I mean, we're playing an Atlanta Falcons offense that loves to pass the ball down the field. They have big play receivers. They have a big play offense. So, sorry, dog freaking out upstairs. So to not have one of our best pass rushers is a big deal. The good news is Russell Wilson did get an extra week to whatever it is he has, and who knows how bad it really is. I mean, last week he looked good, but he's not at 100%, so the extra week can only help Nick Vannett. It's great to see him probably getting in the game this week. I think he played a little bit last week or 2 weeks ago. Now we get to see him play whatever a full game is for Nick Vannett at this point. Tyler Lockett, you hope he can actually play offense because 2 weeks ago he basically didn't play offense at all. And it's not terrible, but Cam Chancellor and Frank Clark, if those two guys can't go today, and I have to assume at least one of them is not going to play today, if not both, it's not great because we're playing a really good offense. They have good running backs, Tevon Coleman and Devontae Freeman. Julio Jones is probably the second best wide receiver in football. Matt Ryan is the MVP right now. I think of the whole league. And that's just an offense that can do work on you if you're not ready to go on defense. I mean, they played really good against the Broncos defense last week. Broncos defense is, of course, the Broncos defense, the Super Bowl winning defense. So you don't like missing those pieces. So you're looking at the linebackers. The linebackers have to play big time. Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright, those two guys. I'm looking for big games from those two. Cliff Averill and Michael Bennett. You might not have Frank Clark coming off the bench today. You guys got to go insane on what is a pretty good Atlanta Falcons offensive line. I think those in a league full of teams that don't have very good offensive lines, I think the Atlanta offensive line is certainly one of the better ones. And Richard Sherman, this is as tough as it gets. Last year, you played Antonio Brown, and Antonio Brown's probably the best receiver in football. You took care of him. Now you got Julio Jones, who is on that same level. He is as good as Antonio Brown, more or less. So it's not going to be easy. It is going to be tougher for the Atlanta offense because of the weather, but this is a huge challenge for this defense. And not having Frank Clark and Cam Chancellor out there, that's not where you want to be. But the guys who are out there have just got to play through whatever it is they got to play through. Offensively, the Atlanta pass rush, which you would have assumed was not very good this year, has played pretty well the last couple weeks. They played well against the Panthers, and they played well against the Broncos. A lot of people are going to say, well, those teams don't have good offensive lines, but neither do we. So, offensively, we have to play really well on the line because this is going to be at least something of a shootout, and we need to get some real offensive production if we want to win. I'm not saying we're going to give up 40 points, but you got to believe we're going to give up at least 20 points, and offensive line has got to play better than they have all season, I think, in order for us to match that. I mean, we've got a quarterback who seems like he's nearing 100% health. We've got a collection of wide receivers who seem like they're very close to being 100%, but Tyler Lockett, you don't know. He might be mainly a special teamer today. We're missing a couple of running backs, although the running backs we have are good. And it's doable. I mean, this Atlanta defense is not great for certain, but they have some playmakers. They can do some good things. And if we're not on top of it, we're going to fall behind in this game. And falling behind is not a position you want to be when your offense is, your defense is playing such a good offense and you're in the bad weather. So I feel pretty good about this game. I feel like the offense can match Atlanta's offense in this particular matchup. I need to see something good out of the offensive line. I need to see something good out of these wide receivers, and I think we can get this win. But this is an interesting test because Atlanta, I know they started great last year and then completely fell apart, but this year they look like they might be even better than they were last year. So I feel good. It's going to be a very interesting game. It's a home game. You got to take care of business at home. And we're going to learn a little bit about Russell Wilson today, too, because he has changed as a quarterback over the last year significantly. He has gotten much better. This is his chance to show that the weather is not going to get to him, because I'm thinking back to some of the playoff games here in, CenturyLink. He didn't play very well in some of those games where the weather was really affecting things. Today, chance to change that narrative a little bit. All right, I'll make a video after the game, whatever happens. Can't be shocked by really anything that happens out there. Hoping Clark and Chancellor can go, but I'm not counting on it. And see you guys later today.